The night was warm and still, one of those perfect Midwest evenings when the air smelled like popcorn and gasoline. The Maple Drive Inn was packed, every spot filled with cars and laughter echoing through the speakers. Jason and his friends parked their old blue Chevy in row 3, just close enough to see the screen, but far enough to sneak a few beers without the attendant noticing. The movie that night was The Lost Boys, a local favorite, fitting for a generation obsessed with teenage rebellion and summer nights that never seemed to end. The neon lights flickered against the hood of the car, and Brooke swore she saw the image on the screen lag for half a second, like a glitch, though no one believed her. Halfway through the movie, just as the first gunshot sounded on screen, the audio cut out. The speakers went dead, the screen froze, and then the entire lot fell into silence. People honked their horns, some shouting for the operator to fix it, but the projection booth light didn't move. From a distance, a metallic clank echoed, sharp and hollow, as if something large had fallen. A few people said it came from behind the screen, near the maintenance shed. Others claimed it came from underneath the parking lot itself, like the ground shifting. The power blinked for a split second, and for that brief moment, everyone swore they saw a shadow walk across the blank white screen. Tall, narrow, and moving unnaturally slow. When the movie finally came back on, everything seemed normal, except Jason's car. A couple parked nearby said they noticed the Chevy's headlights flicker, then dim completely. One witness later recalled seeing someone, or something, moving inside the car after the lights went out, though she couldn't make out the face. Within minutes, the rain started to fall, scattering the crowd. The projection stopped again, and this time the screen never lit up. By the time the storm cleared and the sheriff arrived, Jason's car sat alone, driver's side door slightly open, keys still dangling in the ignition. Inside, the seats were wet, the popcorn spilled, and 5 cold sodas lined up on the dash untouched. By 2002, the old Maple Drive Inn had become little more than a memory. The once bustling lot was now buried beneath a man-made reservoir called Maple Lake, created after the county flooded the area in '92 to build a new water system. Locals joked that the lake had a bad feeling, that even fish refused to swim near the center where the big screen once stood. On still nights, some swore they could hear faint music coming from under the water, muffled car radios playing songs that hadn't hit the airwaves in over a decade. No one went near it after dark. Not even kids on dares. That all changed when a state diving crew was sent out to inspect the reservoir's foundation after reports of strange currents and metallic interference picked up by nearby sonar equipment. On the 3rd day of the inspection, one of the divers radioed in something unusual. At a depth of nearly 80 feet, resting just beyond the old theater's coordinates, he spotted what he first thought was an abandoned dumpster, coated in layers of silt and algae. But as his flashlight swept across it, the corners were too sharp, too clean, too deliberate. It wasn't rusted like typical scrap metal, it looked preserved, sealed tight, like it had been placed there, not lost. The diver's camera feed showed faint white stenciling on the side, numbers or letters. But when he moved closer, the sediment clouded the lens and the signal briefly cut out. When it came back, the diver was breathing fast, voice shaking, saying only 4 words, "It's a container locked." By the time the team resurfaced, word had already spread through the local sheriff's office. The following morning, a recovery crew arrived with cranes and cables to bring the object up. It took nearly 10 hours to drag it from the muck. A massive, rectangular shipping container with no identification, no company logo, no signs of corrosion. It was as if it had been dropped there yesterday. The divers who brought it up refused to go near it again. They said the metal was cold, not water cold, but something deeper, something unnatural, like it was radiating its own chill from the inside. As it sat dripping on the shore under gray skies, Sheriff Callahan stared at the faded, mud-covered surface and whispered, 12 years gone, and now this. The container sat on the muddy shore for nearly 2 days before anyone dared to open it. Officials argued about jurisdiction. The county claimed it belonged to them. The state said it was evidence. And meanwhile, curious locals gathered along the fence, whispering about what might be inside. Some thought it was military cargo, others said it might be the wreckage from a plane crash, or maybe something buried during the Cold War. But the older residents, the ones who remembered the Maple Drive Inn, weren't smiling. They said the lake never felt right after the flood, that maybe the missing kids had something to do with it. When the crew finally arrived with power tools and torches, the air was heavy, the sky overcast, and not a single bird chirped within earshot. The moment the steel doors cracked open, a foul, sour smell rolled out, not like rot, but something older, metallic, almost chemical. The workers stepped back, covering their faces, one of them gagging as the stench thickened. Inside was total darkness. Flashlights cut through the gloom, revealing stacks of waterlogged cardboard boxes, warped and collapsing in on themselves. At first, they thought it was just debris. But when one of the divers moved a box aside, he froze. There, half submerged in murky water, was a human skull, perfectly intact, resting upright, facing the door like it had been waiting. The floodlights were brought in, and slowly, the shadows peeled back to reveal 5 skeletons, seated side by side along the container's back wall. Their clothes were faded and stuck to bone, 90s denim, leather jackets, and one unmistakable varsity ring glinting beneath the sludge. But it was what had been done to them that made the sheriff stumble backward. Each skull had a perfectly round hole drilled through the forehead, not shattered or broken, but surgically clean like someone had used a machine. Around their necks hung small metal tags engraved with numbers 42, 43, 44, 45, and 46. The bodies hadn't decomposed naturally, they'd been arranged, almost displayed, knees folded neatly, hands resting on their laps. It didn't look like murder. It looked like a message. As the crime scene team photographed the remains, one of them lifted a soaked film reel canister wedged between 2 skeletons. The label was smeared, but one line was still legible through the grime: Mapi Derivi, Secholin 42, Dioneti Skrun. When the technicians carefully removed the old film reel from the container, it was coated in rust and algae, the metal edges sharp and flaking. No one could believe it had survived 12 years underwater. Sheriff Callahan immediately ordered it sent to the state lab for analysis, but one of the forensic specialists, a young film technician named Evan Rhodes, insisted he could restore it on site. "It's standard 35 mm," he said, brushing off the grime. "If we're careful, we can still project it." Against the sheriff's better judgment, they set up an old reel-to-reel projector in the county evidence room that night. The walls were bare, the air stale, and the only light came from a flickering fluorescent bulb overhead. When the film finally rolled through the machine, it began with the faint pop and hiss of aged tape, and then the image appeared. It wasn't news footage, it wasn't random stock, it was the Maple Drive, perfectly clear, perfectly framed. The opening shot showed rows of cars parked in the lot, just like the night the friends disappeared. The timestamp in the bottom corner read August 4, 1990, 10:32 p.m. The camera panned slowly, unnaturally smooth, like it was mounted on a dolly or drone. But no one in town owned that kind of equipment back then. The footage cut to a wide shot of Jason's Chevy, headlights off, the 5 friends inside laughing, passing snacks around. The audio crackled faintly, and through the static, a voice whispered something, too distorted to make out, but rhythmic, almost like chanting. The screen flickered for a split second, showing a white flash, and when the image returned, the cars behind Jason's were suddenly gone. The drive-in looked empty now, except for that single blue Chevy. Then came the part that made every investigator in that room go silent. A tall figure emerged from between the rows, long coat, wide hat, and movements too fluid to be human. The figure stopped directly in front of Jason's car and turned toward the camera lens, as if aware it was being watched. Its face was obscured by darkness, but for one frame, just one. The light from the projector caught the reflection of something metallic on its forehead, the same size and shape as the holes found in the skulls. The film shook, flickered, and then the picture warped. The last few seconds were nothing but distorted static and faint laughter echoing through the reel, though no one could tell if it came from the friends on screen, or from somewhere inside the recording itself. When the reel finally jammed and the projector stopped spinning, the room fell into complete silence. The last few frames had melted under the heat of the bulb, the film curling inward like blackened paper. But before the light went out, those who were watching swore they saw something burned into the final image. Not a scene, not a face, but words etched across the screen in deep, dark strokes, "Th show in VRNDs." No one said anything for a long time. The sheriff rewound the tape to confirm what they saw, but when the reel rolled back, that message was gone. It was as if the film had rewritten itself. Within days, the reel and the container were both taken by federal agents who refused to explain who they worked for. The official statement released to the public called it a misidentified storage tank, nothing more. The remains of the 5 friends were quietly buried in the town cemetery, side by side, with no ceremony, no press. Yet, strange things started happening soon after. Workers draining part of the reservoir claimed to hear faint static coming through their radios, even when turned off. Others said they saw flickering lights beneath the water at night, Steady, rhythmic, as if something was still playing down there, reel after reel, forever on loop. Every year since, on August 4th, the night those friends vanished, locals say the lake glows faintly around midnight. If you stand near the old service road, you might hear distant laughter carried by the wind, or the faint hum of a movie projector echoing from beneath the waves. No one dares stay long enough to find out what's showing. Some believe it's just superstition, but others, especially those who've seen that flicker of light under the surface, swear the Maple Drive, it never really closed. Because maybe, just maybe, the show never did end. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.